Welcome to the Lifestyle First podcast, discussing lifestyle medicine and making self-care as easy as 1, 2, 3. One question, 2 research reviews, and 3 actionable health tips, all centered around the Lifestyle First method, your blueprint for the 10 key routes of optimal health and happiness. And now your host, lifestyle medicine physician and coach, Dr. Alka Patel.
Hello and welcome back to the Lifestyle First podcast. We are on season 6 and this is a very special season because I'm bringing to you some inspirational, thought-leading guests this season from the global stage of TEDx. Now, those of you who know the TEDx stage will know why this is so special. And those of you who are new to TEDx, well, let me explain. TEDx is a stage that distributes talks under the slogan, "Ideas Worth Spreading." And it was initially focused on the technology, entertainment and design sector, TED. But now the stage uncovers a range of subjects as diverse as you can imagine, sharing ideas and stories through communities around the globe. And I am excited to bring to you TEDx speakers from around the globe. So today is series 6, episode 1. And the theme we're focusing on today is L for life's purpose. And the one question we're asking is, what's the purpose of having passion in my work? And to answer that, I would like to introduce you to my guest today, who is Zack Ballinger. Now, Zack is from the United States in Atlanta, and he's a TEDx speaker with TedX DesignTechHighSchool with the talk, "Life is Short, Discover Your Passion." Zack's an author, he's a career consultant, he speaks on a very broad range of topics all around career development, job interviewing, overcoming obstacles, leadership, and on we go. So Zack, a very, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Dr. Patel. Thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. So I wanted to start with a definition, if I may, Zack. Passion and purpose. Now, we often say these in the same phrase, don't we? But what is passion and what is purpose?
You know what? It's a great question. I think passion is what energizes you, what motivates you, and your purpose is your long-term vision over your life. What do you want to be doing 5 years from now? What do you want your legacy to be? And some of these questions need to be answered, I think, for a lot of us, is if something happened to us today and we don't want to think in these terms, I understand, but life is so short. So if we have a limited amount of time on earth and something were to happen to us, what do we want to be remembered for? What do we want to do? What do we want to be known for in our communities? So I think passion is that your strengths, your abilities, and using those to influence your purpose, which is your vision of your life.
And so do you think they should always be combined then? Passion and purpose should follow each other? Or is it possible to have one without the other at all?
Yeah, I think it's normal to have a little bit of both, or maybe you don't have them both together. And that's what I strive to try to put them together for people. So some people might be passionate, like say, for example, they love math, but they may not be in a career that they like to do. So their long-term vision wouldn't be a math teacher, but they might be something else. They're striving for another career. So I don't think they always go hand in hand, but I try to marry the two.
Yeah, makes absolute sense. So you mentioned career, of course, and career choices. Well, they start well before you're in a career. These are decisions of your childhood. So when do you think these conversations, and even conversations with yourself, let alone family, friends, school members, or teachers, should start? When do we start talking about passion and purpose in relation to career?
I think that's a great question. Here in the United States, we do a pretty poor job in our educational systems at a high school level of talking about career development. Dr. Patel, I think two ways we miss in the States is we don't talk about career development at all at the high school level, and we don't talk about personal finance. So a lot of people graduate high school and they don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't know what debt is. So I think we're getting a little bit better. I've seen the United States develop career development topics to maybe teach to high school students. They brought me into as well to try to talk about, thinking about these things. Obviously, parents ask me this question. At your 5-year-old, you're not going to say, hey, what do you want to do the rest of your life? You need to decide now. But I think the more activity kids become and the more they work on their academics and focus on them, and not just the academic side, but your social side, learning to network as a kid, getting involved in things early as a kid in sports, maybe organized sports or volunteering and having your son or daughter do those type things can expose them to a lot of different career paths and that you don't know, even at 9, 10, 11 years old. Again, we're not going to say, hey, you need to decide what you're going to do the rest of your life. But I think honest career questions need to really be started at that freshman, sophomore level high school, where we can get them motivated behind what they're doing in life.
Yeah, and I think that you've hit on something really important there, which is about skills and qualities. Until you try things out, you don't necessarily even evoke a quality in yourself. It's there, but you've got to actually make it shown and make it feel its presence before you even recognize that, hey, yeah, this is something innate in me that I've got and that I love and I can go further with. So I love that idea of just getting stuck into opportunities that arise. And so many of those come in those school years, don't they? They really do, even more so than adult years sometimes. They're offered to us on a plate at school. It's just about kind of grabbing those and using those opportunities to really think about, did I even love that? Did I enjoy that? Did I not? So I completely appreciate that for sure. Can I ask you then about something else I think you mentioned in your talk, which was about inventories or personality and knowing your personality type and knowing your qualities from that angle. What's your views on sort of all these measurements that tell you what sort of personality you have and how you then can use that information to choose and forge a path forward for yourself?
Well, I meet a lot of people that tell me, hey, Zack, I'm not good at anything. And I don't buy that. I believe we're all born with innate strengths. Now we can choose to develop those strengths to get them even better. But I think we all have innate abilities and talents or strengths that we've developed over our lifetime. So a lot of times people will say, Zack, I'm not good at anything. And then I challenge them to do personality profile tests where there's a lot of resources online. There's DISC assessments, they call them, where you can learn more about your personality and how you interact with others. If you don't know about yourself, then how in the world do you know what you're good at? So your passion is your strengths and your abilities, like we talked earlier. But if you say you don't have any, then you have to find them. And so these personality profile tests are pretty powerful because they point out strengths that you may not understand that you already have. And so after you take these assessments, they're pretty good at sometimes aligning them with even careers that may be available that you have never even heard of. Likewise, personality profile tests give you a sense of where you don't want to work. So if you're a hyper person, you like to travel a lot like me, if I was stuck behind a desk 8 to 5, I wouldn't make it. And so I learned that through the DISC assessment that, I like to work with a team and some people like to work individually. So you get to know what you like through those tests. And so that's why I think they're very important for people to do.
Okay. So there you are. You've gone through high school, you've gone through college, university, you've chosen that career that seemed to match your personality, and you find yourself in this career that you're doing. How do you know if it holds meaning? When you're talking about purpose and meaning and value, how do you know if you've got it?
That's a great question because sometimes it's going to change. And I'll use myself for an example. So when I got out of college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I never really did a lot of self-discovery. I never invested a lot of time in career development. In fact, Dr. Patel, a lot of people don't. In fact, there was a study out that most people do more activity by hanging out with their friends, going to movies, watching Netflix in a month than they do a lifetime of career development. And think about that. If you're not investing in yourself, you're not growing. And so I got in a career really early in college. I thought I loved it. I got up, and I think where you know is if you're excited to get up in the morning and you don't say, oh God, it's Monday, thank God it's Friday. Instead it's, oh, Monday's just any other day of the week. And so if that clicks for you, then it kind of clicks for everybody. But I think you're going to change over time. You're going to learn more about yourself. And so I woke up one day and I hated my job. I didn't like it. And so what was I going to do to change that? And I know people out there right away that you could talk to. They're like, look, I don't like my job. I do it for the money, or I do it because of security, or I do it because of the insurance benefits. And so I think when you get into something, you'll know right away if it brings you joy, if you're helping others, and you'll wake up differently. And this attitude becomes for you that it's not necessarily a vocation, it's a vacation. So in other words, I love my job so much now, I work on vacation. And people think, well, what about work-life balance? For me, my career is my balance. And so I like to think of it work-life passion. And if you have that passion inside of you, you can never leave it, and it never really goes away.
Yeah, love that. Work-life passion. That's really powerful. Do we all need to love our work, or can we still do work we don't love, but actually think about doing it in a loving way? Because there are, as you say, so many careers. Can you only find purpose through your work, or is there another way? Because there are going to be some people, as you say, who are not finding that meaning and purpose in their work. Does that mean that's it? You know, you're not going to find purpose in life if you don't find it through your work?
Yeah, that's another good question by you. I challenge people that are miserable in their jobs. I understand it might be for a season. So you may be experiencing that now. I'm trying to get you out of that misery stage to a comfort stage. And so some people have challenged me and said, well, volunteering is my passion. I love to do, help in my church, or I love to help in my communities and give it back. And that's the way my purpose is, and my passion is to give it back to my communities. So I really, I can hate my job, but I can do that, on the weekend. So I think your point's valid. The only thing I would challenge you is life is so short. Why can't we have both? Sure, you may not like your job now, but what's your 5-year game plan? Because I don't want you to be thinking that if you're miserable now, we need to have a game plan to get you to a different area where we can be comfortable. And maybe your volunteer work is still your passion, but what about translating those desires that you have for helping your community in a corporation and a job that you have? Now think about how much more fulfilled you would be. So giving back to your community is something you love to do on your free time. What if you were doing that as a career? What if you were doing that part-time? And so you mesh those two together, you almost have that perfect balance. So, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of other purpose out there other than just our occupation. But I challenge people, I want them to get in a whole holistic approach where everything's going well in life. Everything's clicking on all cylinders. And I really do believe that comes a lot from your occupation. And it translates into how you're going to feel every day. People that don't like their jobs, they come home miserable. They take it out on their family. There's a lot of stress, domestic abuse, psychological problems, mental health. So I think we've got to get all of that in line and strive to do a little bit better and have this vision over our life, what we want to accomplish.
And you're right, Zach, work is a very pivotal part of the way we live, the way society is, the way the world is set up, is that work has a real center point in it. And if you're spending so many of your waking hours, working, not working hours, waking, both actually. But if you're spending so many of your waking hours working, then absolutely that needs to be a place that you find that joy, fulfillment, comfort, need. There's a need that needs to be fulfilled there as well, isn't it? And so many of us think work is just about it's a financial thing that we're doing. The purpose of work is for the money, and it's the money that gives you everything else that you need. But work in itself is a connector. Work in itself is the purpose, isn't it? And I think that's really important to recognize, because actually in your talk, you talk about the dash. I'd love you to share the dash with us all today.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So when I give these talks of passion and purpose all over the United States, you get a evaluation form as speakers, like, hey, what didn't you like about the talk, or what was, and I always get negative reviews for this on my talk, but I never change it. And here's why. It's so important, because it sounds morbid, but I've had a lot of people also say, you kind of opened my eyes with that analogy. So if you look at a gravestone, everybody will have a gravestone if you choose to be buried. And we've seen in cemeteries that there's a born date. So let's say I was born in 1980. There's a dash in the middle, and then there's an end date where you passed away. And you'll see those numbers, but we always look at the first number and the second number, but we never pay attention to the most important thing in that equation, and that's the dash. And that's symbolic of our life. Our life is literally a dash. It's a moment in time. And you look at it in an analogy. The world is about 4.5 billion years old. The average person in North America lives to be about 77, 78 years old. That's a blip of time on the radar. That's your dash, a very short moment in time. And I always challenge my audience, what will you do inside your dash?
Morbid perhaps, but very poignant nonetheless, I think, Zack, and really important that we spend some time thinking about that. I think we just don't give ourselves enough space to contemplate that, perhaps because there is fear and worry and even thinking about these things and the finiteness of infinity in a way. My dad used to actually say something very similar. He used to say to me, you're born alone and you die alone, so make that bit in the middle matter. And I think that's what you're referencing, is that bit in the middle has to count, doesn't it? Absolutely.
It does. It's so sad because Dr. Patel, I have sometimes people that have retired that come to me after my talks, and I talk about it in my book, that I had a gentleman come up to me and say, I'm 67 years old. I guess your dash reference is a little bit too, it's kind of over my head. It doesn't really matter to me. And I said, well, when are you going to die? And, there's a silence. Well, I don't know, but soon. Well, how do you know that? What are you going to do? Colonel Sanders, the famous guy that owns KFC in the United States, the franchise, he didn't fry his first bucket of chicken until he was 67 years old. So what are you going to do? You don't know you don't know the number at the end of your dash, but what you can control is right now. Yeah. What are you going to do in this moment? What are you going to do today? What are you going to do this week? And that's all you can control in life. And some people's lives get cut short. I know many people from my high school that have passed away at a young age, at my age. And throughout your life, I'm sure you know people like that. We don't know that end number, but what are we going to do today? What are we going to do today to leave a legacy and to live life with meaning?
And now, here is your lifestyle first prescription. Your 3 activating actions to take you from knowing to doing.
So tell us, what are we going to do today? Give us 3 actions. Let's bring this conversation, which could carry on for so long, but let's try and draw it to a close. Give us 3 actions that we can take today.
Love it. Because I love action plans. Because if we just talk in these platitudes, people say, well, that doesn't help me. I need something to do right now. And so 3 things in the book, I give you 25, but I'll give you 3 quick things to do right now. So right now, take these personality profile tests, go online, find a free one, find out some of your strengths. What are you good at? First of all, we need to find out that. Number 2, ask people around you what you're good at. You'd be surprised. What we're good at has been in the mirror the whole time, but we don't see it waking up every day. It's almost like when I gain weight. I don't see it in the mirror, but somebody else can sure point it out and notice it. It's the same with our strengths and our abilities. Talk to a professional, talk to your manager, talk to your friends, talk to somebody you value as a professional. Ask them, what am I good at? What strengths do you think I have? How do you think I handle situations? What strengths do I possess? And a lot of times those strengths are right in the mirror and we got to point them out. The third thing I would have you do is I would have you volunteer in your communities. When you see people from different perspectives in life, it almost gives you what they call a life's perspective. And you may think you could be down on luck. Coronavirus has hit. A lot of people are out of work. Get some activity. Get out in your community. And when you start seeing people that need help, things change around your life's perspective. You gain a thing. I would actually mention that I went and did a trip at Auschwitz, Germany, and actually in Dachau, and I went and visited the concentration camps. And that moment ever kind of impacted my life for a long time, because we know what happened there, a mass slaughter of innocent human beings that never had a chance to do anything in the world. And then I'm sitting here complaining that my flight's late. And so that kind of puts things in perspective. That day, it forever changed me. Same thing when I volunteered at St. Jude Hospital here in Memphis, Tennessee. When you go through the cancer wards and you see children who have passed away, who have wanted that opportunity to live life. So get out there, volunteer. It'll change your spirit. It'll change your dynamic. Guess what else it does, Dr. Patel? Professionals are out there doing the same thing. It gives you a network. And then you start talking, hey, I'm looking for a career change. I'm looking to get this satisfaction. Because guess what? A lot of times people that love their jobs are out there volunteering in the communities. And so you get plugged in with your network. Those 3 items you can do right now.
Powerful. Thank you, Zack. That was an incredibly poignant conversation, I think. Much needed, no matter how difficult it feels sometimes to start thinking along these lines. So, and thank you for that. I'm grateful for those actions, because actually those are things that we can do right now and just take action. Amazing. Thank you. I'm sure people are going to want to find out a lot more about you, Zack. So tell us, what's the easiest way to reach you?
Yeah, the best way for people to keep in touch is ZackBallinger.com, and all my social media links are there. It's ZackBallinger.com. I'm on YouTube, so if they want to follow me, I'm doing a career library where we bring on people from all across life and we learn about their career. And so if you've always thought, well, I want to be a consultant, or I want to be an engineer, or I want to be a physician, you can see these interviews, and guess what? You can network with them on LinkedIn, because a lot of them share their own LinkedIn to where you can network and keep in touch with them and see if it's something you would like to do eventually.
Amazing. I'm going to plug my children directly into you. Thank you so much. And I'll put all of your links and your TEDx talk in the description as well. So thank you ever so much, Zack. I must draw today to a close, really. So, and to all the listeners, really please do share this conversation, share Zack's TEDx talk. There's much to be learned, which now simply leaves to me to say to everyone who's listening, I wish you a happy, healthy day.
Thanks for joining us on the Lifestyle First podcast, making self-care as easy as 1, 2, 3. Don't forget to subscribe and share, and we'd love it if you'd be kind enough to leave a review. To learn more or to arrange a consultation, please visit www.dralkapatel.com. See you next time.